Hey guys, so I tried to film my October favorites a week ago and it didn't work out very well. Um just the filming was not good, so I was going to go ahead and film this over, try and edit anything. But if I do, it's going to be very small. It's not going to be completely taken out or anything. But I like to go over my October favorites, which is actually a lot more than I thought it was. Since October came by, I thought I didn't watch as much or read as much, but apparently I did. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in, starting with movies. A few of these movies I actually watched in September, and I didn't get to do September favorites, so here is a little bit left over from that. But I'm gonna go ahead and, just re-say that. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with the first one, which is Set It Up, and which is a Netflix original. I didn't get to watch until September. I don't know why I had to think about that, but it came out in July, and ever since then I've been loving it. It's such a great rom-com, and I love rom-coms. I kind of grew up on them, partially like one of my favorite things to watch as a kid, and this one just really kind of took the rom-com genre and made it more modern and made it just a little more fitting for this age, instead of like something that, you know, we all loved 20 years ago, like Clueless or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, which are still great movies, but this is great for our generation, and I definitely think this was a great movie with great actors in it, and I highly recommend 100%. I also recommend the next one, which is To All the Boys I Loved Before. I am mildly obsessed with this movie. It it did take over my life in September. I watched it several times, and just the aesthetic alone is like breathtaking. It's like soft, bubblegummy, kind of, not really Wes Anderson, but it could be Wes Anderson. The actors were great. The storyline was great. It didn't make me cringe at all, which I hate about teen movies, is there's always a cringe factor to it. But thankfully this didn't have it, and I was just, I don't even know the words. I definitely recommend this movie. It's very much a teenagey kind of movie. It's about, high schoolers, but I would definitely watch. It's great, and if you are a book purist, I'd say go read the books. It's a trilogy. It's actually a duology that was turned into a trilogy, but really great books. So yeah, that's my other September favorite that I put on this list. And then the last September favorite that I have was Crazy Rich Asians, which I am intensely obsessed with. Like, I still am, and I think the DVD's coming out, or it's already on digital, I think, and the DVD's coming out like the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and I know I'm gonna go buy it and like watch it several times over, because it's like one of my favorite rom-coms. Like, it pushed that's a really big thing to say, but it's up there with You've Got Mail. Like, it almost pushed out of the top spot, and I love You've Got Mail. If you know me, like, if that's on, I watch the very end. I don't even like cut it off if I need to go somewhere. I'm watching it, don't interrupt me. This is the best. Love Tom Hanks, but this is just like, this had everything. It had food, had romance, had comedy, had representation. 100%, go watch it if you haven't. Okay, so that was it for the September favorites that became October favorites. The other two movies that I loved this past month was Little Women, which they came out with a, wow, my thumb cracked. I'm sorry if you guys heard that. Was Little Women the modern retelling of it, and that I absolutely loved. I mean, I definitely am a purist when it comes to Little Women. I grew up watching that movie, grew up reading it, and it just made my heart soar. because it was done so well. And what I mean by that is they took the beloved characters and they gave them the appropriateness of being in the 21st century. Like, it fit. The only thing I did not like was the guy who played Laurie, who is played by Lucas Grabeel. It wasn't my image of it because I grew up with the Christian Bale version, and I always imagined Christian Bale with his floppy hair and really dashing smile. And so he didn't look like Laurie, but he did act like Laurie. Like, I believed it 100%. That was my only complaint, and I don't know if it's available on digital yet. I did see it in theaters, and but when it does, I'll figure it out and I'll post it somewhere because it's a great version of the movie. I loved all the actresses. I thought they were phenomenal. And then the last movie was The Long Day Closes, and I actually watched this for a film class, and I am very hesitant about putting or liking movies or putting movies on my favorites list, but this happened to be one of my favorites because it wasn't like a traditional story where it was it didn't have like an Aristotelian plot. Is it Aristotelian? Or one of the Greeks. The typical plot of a story. But I liked it because it had snippets of this kid's memory, of this guy's memory of his childhood, and I definitely enjoyed that. The one thing I did absolutely love why I put this on the favorites list is because there was a few scenes where they had I don't know, it was an image, it was a scene, but it wasn't, it didn't have the original sound, and they overlapped it with sounds from a movie, of a golden age Hollywood, scene of singing with the talking, like a musical. I think there's a part where they have the scene from, or the sound snippet from, Mimi in St. Louis whenever, it's at the end of the party, and she's singing over the banister. They have that entire, snippet over, the kid's brother and his girlfriend, the image of them, at the end of their date, which I loved. But yeah, that concludes my list of favorite movies for the month. Now on to TV shows, which there's only 3, so this is shorter. But, the first one is Outlander Season 3. I finished that up because Outlander Season 4 is already out, and I have not watched the first episode yet, but I'm really excited. I love Outlander. One of my favorite... Oh, hello. Anyway, sorry, I got a text. One of my favorite, TV shows, on air at the moment, which is on Stars if you want to watch it. But, definitely Outlander Season 3 I loved. I just love this show in general, but, I don't want to give it away because if you guys are watching it, I don't want to ruin anything, but let me just say, the characters and their progression, it just, it hit home so good. I love where these characters are at and what they mean to each other and everything, and the desperation for each other, which I love on the backdrop of a historical setting, and this just, yeah, no other words. Please just watch it. It's so good. I already got my parents watching it, and I feel so proud of myself. I come home and they're watching the first season. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys make me so proud. But the second one is actually, I started watching this a few weeks ago, and it's so nice to watch before I go to bed, is When Calls the Heart, which is a Hallmark channel TV show, and it's very cheesy, but it's very much appropriate for all ages, and it's a period piece, which I'm a sucker for. I love period pieces. But I'm only a few episodes in, so I didn't finish the entire show, but it's really good. It's very relaxing. That's one thing Hallmark does right, is just create relaxing atmospheres for their TV shows or their movies. So it's just about this woman who comes from a very wealthy family, and she goes to this small town to teach, and people know her because of her dad and how wealthy he is and all this stuff, and they don't really believe her as a teacher or as someone who can live on her own because she's been in wealth so much. And so yeah, it's set in Canada, which is very interesting. You don't see a lot of shows that are backdropped in Canada, so that is a very nice, refreshing take on a TV show. And then the last TV show I put on here is the new season of Doctor Who. Just fantastic. I love the new Doctor. I think she is incredible. I've already seen her work in, oh my goodness, what is that show with, it's the show with David Tennant, and he is the detective Broadchurch. She's in Broadchurch, and she is amazing, and I'm not English, which you could probably take from my accent, so I don't know her in a lot of stuff. I try to keep up with her TV shows, but you know, you can only do so much when you have American TV shows and English TV shows to keep up with. But that's all I've seen her in, and I thought she was fantastic, and I love her in this. Just a great season. The first few episodes have just blown me out of the water. Love it. It feels like David Tennant and Matt Smith, those doctors, had a baby doctor, and this is her. But it is a reincarnation of them. But, you know, she has that very spunky, friendly spirit, which I did love about their doctors. So yeah, that concludes TV shows. We're moving really fast with this. I didn't realize I could talk this efficiently, so this is a plus. Now we'll go to music. There's quite a bit of music, but I'll kind of speed through. But the first thing I have on here is Little Mix's new single, or they have a few more singles out right now, but the one that came out in October was Woman Like Me, featuring Nicki Minaj, which is a great song. Put it on my workout playlist. It's great, keeps me active, keeps me pumped up, just fantastic. I've been a fan of Little Mix since the beginning, so love their music, like their message too. So and then the next song is well, it's not the next song, it's an EP actually by Hosier, I think, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's called Nina Cried Power, which is a great EP. So great. I'm so excited to hear his new music again. It's like butter on my ears. I love it. Love his voice and love his writing. Yeah, just sit down and listen to it, or stand and listen to it, or just listen to it in general. Do whatever you want. So yeah, the next one is a soundtrack. It's the Crazy Rich Asian soundtrack, which was fantastic, and I think made the movie. So I would, when you watch the movie, you'll listen to the music and you'll be like, yep, I know what you mean. Every song is great, fits in the movie, and it's so nice to listen to outside. I think this is one of the few rare movies that has a really great soundtrack and a really great movie. So there's a lot of course there's a lot of foreign songs on here, which is great to listen to. You don't get enough of that in movie soundtracks. And there's also I think there's an Aquafina feature on there, and then there is some great classic, I don't know, I guess the golden age of Hollywood for Asian culture song. I don't know, it's like a big band and swing. That's kind of more how to describe it. Big band and swing kind of song in there. That's in Mandarin, I think, or Chinese. I don't know specifically the language. I probably just said the same language over and over again, but with. I don't know if, yeah, so just listen to it. Fantastic. The next one is a song, You Should See Me in a Crown by Billie Eilish. I love Billie Eilish, been listening to her for a while, and she just kills it on every single song, and this song is just fantastic. Just, like, makes me want to go into battle kind of song. And then the next song is a kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. I found this on accident on my kind of recommended, was Heaven by Julia Michaels, which is a great song. It was actually featured on the 50 Shades Freed soundtrack, which ironically is a great soundtrack. Who would have guessed for a horrible movie, right? But yeah, this song is a banger. Like, not gonna lie, I've listened to it so many times, I'm kind of embarrassed to say. But yeah, the next song is 1999 by Charlie XCX. This is also a banger. It definitely has some late 90s vibes to it. And the music video is actually even great, so recommend that one too if you want to watch it. Kill two birds with one stone. And then the next one is Goku by Jaden Smith, which is a great song. If you don't listen to Jaden Smith, you need to, because he is just killing it out there. This song is awesome, great to work out to, super pumping, super, like, makes you pumped up. That's probably a better thing to say. Makes you pumped up, makes you ready to just take on the world. I don't know what else to say about that, but it's a great song. His new music comes out November 17th, so I'm gonna be ready for that. Then the next one I've been listening to ever since Crazy Rich Asians came out. I've been listening to Awkwafina, and I think one of my favorite albums of hers that I've just been listening to recently is Yellow Ranger album. It's great. She is like, how to describe her is like she raps, but it's very a little bit comedy in there. She's very, very much an artist. Like, you could tell by her music that she is just like, she's very different from other rappers out there, and I think that's what makes her music very special, and especially this album. I love it. Then the next song I have on here is Bad by Len and Stella. I've been listening to the Stella sisters for a while, and Lennon, the older one, came out with some new music, and this is a great song. Very cute pop. Yeah, it's just really nice to hear from like a younger artist that still has that kind of innocent sounding to their voice. I like that. So it's a great song. Great. I think this is her first song, her first single, but it's great, so recommend. And then the last is actually an artist that I have recently found called King Princess, and her music is amazing. I've been specifically obsessed with her songs 1950 and Upper West Side. They're just like, I don't know, they're so refreshing to like from this everyday like pop kind of sound. So I definitely love this, a little more of a stripped kind of sound, and I think that's very special about this artist, and I love that about her. So yeah, that concludes my music favorites from October. And then on to my books. The two books that I read this past month, which is sad that I only read 2 books this past month, but that's what happens when you're in your last semester of college and you have to focus so you can graduate. Not that I don't have a bad GPA, but just, you know, I don't want to fail. So, yeah, so the first book that I read was The Selection by Kiera, and I was surprised because I've seen this book, like, for so long on the library shelves, and I was like, whatever, it's probably just another YA fiction that I don't want to really read, but everybody else is reading, and that's happening way too many times where I've read a YA fiction, and I was like, I don't like this. So I I go visit my parents on the weekends sometimes, and on the way back my sister drives, and so I'll be in the passenger seat and I'll be playing music, and it's like a 3-hour drive back to my apartment, and so I just rented this on ebooks and I read it on the way back. I'm a fast reader, so it took me like maybe 4 hours to read, and it's actually it's pretty good. There was some stuff that bothered me, but overall I wasn't angry with it, which is nice from a YA book. I thought that the plot was interesting, and I definitely liked what I liked, especially one of the main characters specifically. The main girl, though, I'm kind of a little... This is the first book that's out of like 5 books, so I need to read more about her to figure out if I like her or not, so... Which is not bad. You don't have to have a likable protagonist, but, yeah. I thought this was actually a really good book. I was kind of glad I read it, and I actually rented or borrowed the second one, so I'm excited to start reading that. But yeah, that's actually I liked it. I thought it was worth a read. I wasn't regretting it at the end of it. But I definitely did like the plot. I thought it was really interesting. I think that's why I liked it so much. And then the last book that I read this past month was Awaken by Kacvinsky. I think that's how you say her name. Sorry, I think I need to burp, and I don't. It's just like, I don't know, it's weird. But anyway, I digress. This book was really interesting. I liked the plot line of it, and I did like the main protagonist better than the guy. I thought he was kind of like, just did not like his MO, but I did like the plot. I did like the girl. I thought her backstory was so interesting. How she nearly led a revolution without even knowing, which was my favorite part of the entire thing, that she didn't know what she was doing. But I liked that it was set in the near future, and that everything was online, and that people didn't really talk to each other anymore except for online. Very interesting, eerie kind of. I definitely recommend it. There was some bad reviews on this book, but I was I think it's pretty good. There was some stuff where I was I don't necessarily believe that, but I suspended my belief enough to be okay, maybe in the near future this could happen. So it was a good book. I want to read the next one, but it's not in my library yet, and I'm not in focus on this camera. There we go. But it's not in my library yet, so I gotta wait. I had to request it to be sent over. But yeah, so that is it for books. And then the last one, which only has one thing in the category, is podcasts. So I am obsessed with this podcast called Heart Hartnett, and it's all about these 3 guys who talk about, they watch Josh Hartnett films and they talk about them. It's a great podcast. One of the co-hosts is a YouTuber, and his name is Patrick H. Willems, and his stuff is really good. You probably will be already subscribed to him if you aren't. Let me rewind. You will probably already be subscribed to him if you're watching this. That's what I meant. But I will link his channel below. He does it with 2 of his friends who are brothers, and I actually like their banter a lot. It's really funny on the podcast. But they talk about Josh Hartnett films, and it's actually really refreshing because I didn't realize how many Josh Hartnett films I actually watch and how many I haven't. But I've watched some pretty crazy films from this podcast, and I really like it. It's an hour, 15 minutes, maybe an hour and a half each episode. But it's really nice to listen to. Funny, interesting. Yeah, just really great. Don't know if I would recommend some Josh Hartnett films that I've watched because they're kind of weird. His earlier films, then he gets really good. But yeah, I definitely like that podcast, and I will link it also down below. All these, actually, I'll probably link down below, or tell you where you can find it, something like that. Everything will be in the description box. But that is it for my October favorites. And so, yeah, that's about it. And I will see you guys. Oh yeah, by the way, my socials will be in the link box, description box down below. Link box. I don't know why I keep saying that. It's description box. It will be down there. Plus my Patreon, which helps me do more of these videos / podcasts. I'm gonna try and put this on a podcast so people can listen to it. You know, you never know if people want to hear your voice. But so getting more of these, and then also, you know, because I'm a writer as well, you also get stories. So, which is great. I mean, you can always read. Reading is good for us. And, you know, it's, you should also subscribe to this channel, because subscribing is free. And you should like this video. If you liked it, I don't want to pressure you, but if you liked it, you should definitely. Okay, this is going on way too long, and I do not want to edit this at all. So I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!